which is kind of cool to see that they've never really lost like the root of what it was, which is, some fence in the middle of a field with plywood around it.
In the driver's seat and then one person in the passenger seat. That shit's pretty funny. It always seems like the person with the steering wheel has a disadvantage.
It does remove it from being a sport, right? So we're just
What fighter has the highest fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His IQ
the
is
highest
insane.
fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.
Welcome to the Fight IQ podcast. We're back with another episode. Today we got a tier list for you. And today we are going to be ranking alternative fight leagues. These are the oddball fight leagues, the black sheeps, if you will. We're talking about some really weird shit. Some that we have here today aren't super far-fetched, but some of them are, some of them make you do a double take. Let's start out with one that is pretty well known, and that is going to be street beefs.
Oh yeah.
I actually am personally a fan of street beefs. I haven't, not to the point where I follow certain fighters' careers, but I enjoy a good watch every now and then.
Yeah, street beefs that's old school, right? I feel like street beefs was definitely one of the first kind of combat-oriented, almost a sport sort of things on YouTube, and it's really kind of held for a while. They've seen some pretty big popularity. I mean, you got guys like Mighty Mouse who give them a pretty decent amount of attention. And we've definitely all seen the memes, if nothing else. It's one of those things where it's consistently great, weird highlight knockouts on Instagram and shit like that. So street beefs is fun, man. Street beefs is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Street beefs is really fun to just hop in and see what's happening on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
You have the weirdo characters too, like Death Sentence. And there's a couple other funny ones too that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Shinigami is my favorite.
Somebody that's competed under street beefs. We know Black.
Yeah,
Goku.
shout out Black Goku.
Shout out Black Goku. But yeah, it's a pretty fun thing to watch. If we're rating it on a tier list, I think I would give it an A tier, just because it's very entertaining, and the skill set sometimes is pretty. It's one guy that knows how to fight, and then one guy that is probably he's never fought in his life. So you'll get these weird mismatches, but I think it's very entertaining. So I think it'd be a good A tier.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give Street Beefs an A tier as well. It's one of those things where they've grown as an organization too, which is kind of cool to see that they've never really lost the root of what it was, which is some fence in the middle of a field with plywood around it. They've just kind of maintained that route, but they've started branching out into they do kickboxing matches, they do straight boxing matches, they've done grappling and MMA now. So they've kind of continued to embrace what they are, and I respect them for it. So we're going A tier for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. I think to the level of notoriety that they've been able to reach, the fact that it is just a makeshift cage in kind of an undisclosed location. We don't really know.
In the yard?
Yeah, in the yard. We just know it's the yard.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I say it's a solid A tier. I mean, just the Shinigami lead high kick knockout alone is enough for me to be a fan for life.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the pictures of these fight leagues. They're just so funny. Let's go with one that's a little more brutal. This might be the most brutal one on the entire list, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. King
of the Streets.
Yeah, man. That's
it's a rough.
Whew.
Yeah.
That one's for the brave. It's a no holds barred, pretty ruthless, basically a street fight, right? I mean, they allow eye pokes. There's been a handful of championship fights that have ended with a dude tap into an eye poke on the ground. They fought on hockey rink. If you get knocked out, you're bouncing your head off of the ice. Soccer kicks from the ground, stomps, spitting blood in your face. It's It's a little much. It's a little much.
I will say their production value is pretty good. They're like
Yeah.
whoever's directing their videos and like doing
Yeah.
their camera work, high quality stuff.
It's actually
Yeah.
pretty terrifying when you
Yeah.
think about it, because it is
It's scary
it
to
is like
watch.
one of those, you get a text message and it's like, meet us at this parking garage, and then
Yeah.
you show up and it's like a bunch of really scary foreign dudes and they're fighting to the death out there.
Yeah.
They can just full on soccer kick you with shoes on, slam you into the concrete like just head first. There's really no rules.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining because it shows you how like the brutality of what can happen in a fight, and it's very real about that. But it's very hard to watch sometimes, because when you know the type of damage that these fighters go through, and you're seeing it just taken to the extreme, it can get very hard to be palatable. I'm gonna go B tier on this one. These guys can fight. It's not like these are.
Yeah.
It's like an MMA fighter, and he really knows what he's doing. I don't really see low skill level fights out of this. It's very brutal. So
Yeah,
B
I
tier.
think I think the reason why it's not A tier, I mean, a couple reasons. One, I think like you need to have a rule set. Like you need to have a rule set in place. Like obviously this is fighting, but I don't think like when we're talking about something being a palatable sport, I mean these guys are not going to have long careers at all. They can get like pretty much life-ending injuries like immediately just with one fight. I think the rules are there to actually turn it from fighting into a sport.
Yeah.
And I think the palatability of this one I think brings it to a B tier. I think because the skill level is there, but it doesn't have the entertainment value of something like a Street Beefs, even just because Street Beefs does have rules, and this isn't just like you like fighting because you know that there's dire consequences if you fuck up, but like we don't actually want to see someone die while we're watching a fight.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want.
And that's the thing with King of the Streets is it's watching assault a little bit more so than it is watching a sport. You're not going to invite people over for a King of the Streets call.
Oh my god!
Like we can't do that. Nobody's gonna be down with that.
Oh
so
my god!
It does remove it from being a sport, right? So we're just
something about I can't enjoy a plate of mozzarella sticks, dude, while I'm watching someone's head bounce off of concrete. I just can't do it.
Yeah. So B tier.
Oh jeez. All right, B tier. We gotta get off of this one.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I need to maintain some structure here. All right. let's go to a little more lighthearted one. And
We're good.
And that is car jitsu.
Yes.
Oh man.
Oh man. That shouldn't have been that funny. But onto car jitsu. This one's a little safer.
Yeah, there's rules in place. If anybody's not familiar with car jitsu, it's fairly new. It kind of came out. There were a few different ones that all happened. I remember like there being a phone booth jujitsu kind of situation too, like tight spaces, it's minimal movement kind of stuff. And car jitsu is kind of the one that stuck. The fun part is a lot of times you both start buckled in. So like the match starts and you have to unbuckle yourself to engage. Yeah. And so the seatbelt becomes like a viable strategy to keep your opponent in a position instead of being able to have pressure. So it's kind of cool. It's fun to see people play with jiu-jitsu in weird ways like that. I don't know that I could sit through much of it. I think I could watch like maybe a round at a time. Like, I don't know that I'm sitting down to watch a bunch of car jitsu, but I think it's fun. You get to see some real creative stuff for sure.
I mean, this is definitely one of those ones where I haven't actually watched an entire fight. I've just seen like a random clip on Instagram, so I don't have too much to go off on this one, to be honest.
Yeah.
It seems like a fun idea, but as a sustainable, watchable event, I don't know how many eyes it's bringing. I mean, normal jujitsu has trouble bringing viewers.
Yeah.
I don't think this is what's gonna bring jujitsu to the forefront. It's like
No.
yeah, I don't think so.
I do like that they switch between having one person in the driver's seat and then one person in the passenger seat. That shit's pretty fucking funny. It always seems like the person with the steering wheel has a disadvantage. And also, if you've seen a couple matches too, dude, where they like transition into the back seat, and you're just like, "What are we doing, dude?" You know? But my favorite is always how everybody goes for the seatbelt chokes, where they just fucking try and wrap the seatbelt around the neck. It's hilarious. But ultimately, it's just a meme. And as far as entertainment, I do give it some points for entertainment. So I'm gonna go C tier on this one.
Just because it's funny. It's
funny. I couldn't watch like 20 minutes of this, but I mean, who knows? Maybe we get some, like, if they started getting some actual like big names in there, like we got Hamzat Chimaev driving the car. And then we have fucking Craig Jones in the passenger seat, and like we see who can win. Yeah. It could get hilarious.
Yeah, if you get some legitimate talent in there, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Until then, C tier.
Yeah.
Mounted triangles in the back seat.
Yeah, dude.
Oh man, which one to go to next? All right.
Oh, they're all good.
All right.
They're all good.
I'm gonna go to this one just because I'm pretty passionate about this one. And that is going to be Power Slap.
Oh.
Now, according to Dana White, Power Slap is a hit. People love it. And I don't know if he's just basing that off of views on YouTube shorts, or I don't know what he's basing it off of. But this, I mean, borderline shouldn't even be allowed to be sanctioned. I think this is the dumbest one on the list. I mean, it's not even a sport. When you talk about skill, even if someone doesn't know how to slap, run them through a basic training course in a day. They'll be knocking people out with slaps. It takes no skill. I've seen people disobey the rules too, like you're not allowed to flinch or whatever. I've seen people flinch, not get like penalized for it. It's not a sport. I think it's, in terms of, you know, besides King of the Streets, this is the most dangerous one. You're just standing there and taking damage. You have no means of defending yourself. I think it's the dumbest one. I would put it in D tier.
Yeah. You know, slap fight has been around for a little bit beyond power slap. And if anybody remembers Slap Mountain back in the day, that was the origins of a lot of this. And it was the same as it is now. It's entertaining just because it's almost so unbelievable that it's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, man. I definitely don't like seeing it be promoted in the same way as like actual sports like MMA and boxing. It's just, it shouldn't be in that category, but for whatever reason, Dana keeps trying to push for that. And D tier. Can't do it.
I feel like the reason Power Slap is even a thing with Dana White is because he did what most people that have a lot of time on YouTube do. And they end up finding their way into that nook of YouTube where it's power slap or slap fighting, from like Russian slap fighting and all that stuff. I know Moist Critical did a lot of videos on stuff like that, and they were really popular. So maybe he just saw that and saw the entertainment from that. But I mean, ultimately, what you have is just two people just slapping each other, and it does kind of lose its shine after you watch like a couple matches.
Yeah.
So I can't really even rate it highly for entertainment value. And no matter how much production you throw into it, it's very low skill. It's very, when a slap fight doesn't end in like a knockout, it's just two people just standing there just slapping each other in the face. And sometimes it's entertaining. I mean, I guess I could see the entertainment in it, but nothing that would keep me entertained for long. And it's not even that funny, you know? It's not funny like hard jitsu either, so I'm going to go D tier.
Yeah. Cool. D tier. All right. Now, on to the next one. Let's go to one that actually I have not been to, but night fights. Or
what
was it? What were you calling it?
Armored Combat League?
The
Armored Combat League, man. No, this shit, immediate S tier for me. The entertainment value is so high. I've seen them in person. It's very cool. It's one of those things where it's definitely a lot of guys that really wanted to just be into fantasy and take it to the next level. But the promotional value is there. They often make their own armor. So a lot of these guys are like hobbyist blacksmiths and things like that. So they're making like custom suits of armor that are thousands of dollars. They're using historically correct weaponry. There's rules to be like certain classes, long swords, sword and shield. Oftentimes they'll just drop it all and box each other. Like, no, S tier, immediate S tier. The entertainment value, especially live, is so high that you could hang out for hours and be sad when it's over.
Yeah, man. I think I'm going to go S tier as well. I've watched, like, I think the show was called Night Fights. I can't remember what channel it was on. But
History
it was, like,
Channel.
Televised combat, and there's a skill set involved. You have to know how to, rock the weapon. You also have to be somewhat in shape to be in that armor, that suit of armor, and to actually do one-on-one combat in it. So it's entertaining. The skill set's there, and I know at the end of the day, it's just people that are like LARPing, like to the max. Like this is like competitive LARPing. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's very fun to watch. Easy S tier for me as well.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I haven't really seen too much of it. Another one that I've just really seen clips of. I mean, I want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt, but I just can't see this getting to like even as big as like Street Beefs.
So that's the funny thing. But the thing is there's global tournaments for this within its own community. There's like state tournaments. There's national tournaments. We have a team in Colorado, the Colorado Wardens. If y'all are down with that, I'll shout them out. But there's like global tournaments, like multi-time world champions and shit. Like it's a full thing with like an organization. No, this shit's dope. It's dope as fuck, man. You got to give them credit.
I mean, listen, even no matter what
Dude, I wish, bro. I wish.
I don't know. I guess you guys both chose S tier, so I think it has to go.
And it doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah, you're right. All right.
I'll die on that hill.
Let's go to one that has a little bit more legitimacy and actually.
Damn.
I've been enjoying quite a bit, and Andrew, I know you've been enjoying it quite a bit as well.
Yes.
And that is Karate Combat.
Hell yeah.
I think this is great. I don't, obviously the skill involved, super high level. Entertainment value is where I criticize it. And I don't know whether that's just like not a ton of, it doesn't have a ton of exposure, like not as much widespread exposure as the UFC because it's relatively new. Man, I don't know. I also just really love the grappling aspect of MMA. So, like, to me, this is just kind of like a different version of MMA that doesn't have grappling.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'd give it
it's kickboxing.
Yeah. I'd give it a solid B tier, maybe an A tier.
Okay. I'm going to argue A tier, and I'm going to argue A tier mostly on the fact that I think it's one of those split off organizations that's done a really good job being its own thing. It's been around for a handful of years. Bas Rutten was one of the big guys to kind of help start it and get it into being like an actual sport. They designed the pit, which obviously we've seen used in a couple different ways now with like the CJI tournaments, pit boss grappling tournaments and stuff like that, where it's like starting to become an actual ring set. Not to mention, I think the skill is really, really high, right? You're getting a lot of people that maybe aren't necessarily interested in going down the MMA route. Maybe Stephen Thompson's that didn't end up switching, right? The guys that stayed in that karate kind of style. And so you get a really lot of high quality strikers.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to see that kind of put on display without the threat of the grappling, which obviously is a completely different sport. But the production value has gotten really high. They always do these crazy backgrounds and shit with their stadiums that they set up in. A lot of it's like privately funded money, which is cool. And it's all free on YouTube, which I always think is an awesome thing. If you can put on an entire event and give it to the people for free on YouTube, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going S tier, maybe A tier for me.
I'll go A tier for right now. I feel like if they get a couple more star athletes, they can easily be S tier. I feel like their current president is really doing a great job. He's the former head coach at the Goat Shed, and he did a great job running that gym, and he's doing a fantastic job running karate combat. There's a lot of really awesome knockouts, and like Andrew was saying, for those people that don't want to have the grappling aspect of MMA, but they're really cool strikers, it's a great place to go. Like Rebelis de Spain got another really nice knockout there. So people like him that have a very niche skill set, but want to make a little bit more than going the kickboxing route, I feel like it's a great little spot for them. And I really like the pit as well. I feel like that's especially when grappling is involved, I feel like the pit is one of the best places for MMA to take place, or any sort of grappling event to take place in. I really like the CGI pit.
Word. So it's sounding like a pretty solid A tier.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think mainly because of the skill level of the fighters, which is what I value most. So I think it's solid in the A tier. All right. Now, a league that may or may not have the same skill level. We're just going to lump in all of the weird Russian fight leagues. We're talking 2-on-1. We're talking 3-on-1. We're talking 2 women versus 1 guy. We're talking little people.
Oh yeah.
We're talking, we're talking all those things. Team fights. Yeah. I think entertainment value is through the roof.
Yeah.
I think this is about
absolutely.
I think this is about as high as you can get for entertainment value. Skill level is low, however. On average, the skill level is very low. Aside from you do get the 2 women who are actual fighters versus the 1 fat dude.
Yep.
Because obviously you can't have the dude have any sort of skill at all, or else it's just a guy beating the shit out of 2 chicks. But all the other ones are fun too. Like a lot of them are on even playing fields. The little people is fun. I don't know. I think it's all very entertaining.
It's a weird one where I feel like half the time they're just kind of recruiting anybody, where it's really just like, hey, if you want to fight, come let's fight. I remember seeing one. It was like some dude's ex versus his mom. And they strapped him up in gloves, let him go, and the mom just beat the shit out of this poor girl. And you're like, man, I guess if you don't have like actual people, just throw whoever at it. People are going to be entertained regardless. So yeah, I mean, entertainment value is crazy. It's one of the most entertaining things for like 30 seconds.
Dude, I love
tough, though.
My personal favorite fighter from all these leagues is the little dude who looks like Uriah Faber. That's my favorite dude.
You mean Uriah Faber? He looks like if Uriah Faber had a mini-me,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where I would rate it on a tier list, but like Ryan was saying, very entertaining. Super fun to watch, all that good stuff. The team fights are crazy because it just turns into somebody getting jumped. Like once the team starts whittling down and people start getting finished, then it just turns into, someone just getting beat on by like 4 dudes.
Yeah.
And then the 2-on-1 fights are fun. Like I remember Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man, fought like 2 flyweights.
Yeah.
And he was just throwing them around.
Yeah.
Shit was fucking funny, man. Yeah. So one dude came in. I remember his entrance coming in was him riding a motorcycle into the octagon. It's fucking hilarious. So they're on a different wavelength out there, and I just want them to keep on rocking. I don't want nobody to step in and say this isn't cool. Just let them keep cooking over there.
Yeah. I would personally have to put it at B tier just because of the skill level.
Yeah, B tier is good.
The
Nice and
entertainment
in the
value.
middle.
The entertainment value saves it from being in the C or D tier, I think.
that just shows how entertaining it really is. But
Yeah.
B tier it is. That's a good spot.
Yeah. All right, we got one more for you guys. And it's actually probably my favorite out of the group.
Yeah.
And that's going to be BKFC.
Heck yeah.
This is one where you're talking about like if people like Rebellis de Spain are kind of lacking in that grappling and they just want a cool place to go where they can showcase their striking and kickboxing. This Mike Perry was a great example of this was just the sport for him. Like in MMA, he did have success. Wasn't able to make it to the highest level of the UFC. Comes over to BKFC. Has he lost the BKFC fight yet?
No.
I don't
think
think
so.
he has. He's the biggest star that they have there.
Yeah.
For me, I think this is nearing A tier.
I mean, I would absolutely agree. I was even thinking
Yeah.
a little higher than that, just because it's one of those that's gotten so much success, right? Like BKFC, obviously, with or without Conor McGregor, was already going to be a big thing. It seemed like it was really gaining traction. People were starting to hear about it. The highlights were making it all over social media. Like it started to really become like its own sport, really. And I mean, you've seen many branch offs, right? Like there's the bare knuckle MMA that Jorge Masvidal was doing. There's other like smaller bare knuckle leagues. So it's really kind of become something that I think people have now accepted. Whereas I think originally we thought it was going to be too brutal because it was bare knuckle. But as we've seen, it's still accepted and people really like it. People are into it. I was thinking S or A tier for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm going to go S tier on this, actually. I feel like bare knuckle has done better than the PFL and Bellator in like the last 2 years. They've had the better signings of free agents. They've had the better, more entertaining fights. Like at the end of the day, bro, I can't think of 5 Bellator fights that have happened in the last like 2 years that have been legitimately entertaining, and it's literally just like a lightning in the bottle when something cool happens in these other organizations. So, but I can really think about really awesome fights that Bare Knuckle FC has put on the same card even.
Yeah.
I was at one of the live Bare Knuckle events when they came to Denver for Luke Rockhold versus Mike Perry, and it was very entertaining. It was a great time, a lot of fun fights on that card, and I just feel like entertainment-wise, through the roof, they have really good stars there. It's where like UFC fighters do go after their UFC run is up. And I feel like they put on some of the best performances of their careers once they're in that rule set, And right now they're talking about this big $25 million prize for a big tournament that they're going to do, and the names that are getting rumored are pretty crazy. So even, Senchai has done bare knuckle fights and stuff like that. Senchai versus Buakaw, like crazy shit, bro.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
I
tier
missed
for sure.
that one.
Dang.
Damn. All right. It's going to have to go in S tier.
Love it.
You convinced me. Well, that's all the alternative fight leagues that we have for you guys today. Please let us know in the comments if you would put these anywhere else, or let us know if you have a favorite alternative fight league that we didn't mention here. We'd love to add more and maybe do another tier list in the future. Maybe move these around with an update, see how far they've come. All right. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, please. Any interaction helps. We'll see you on the next one. Adios.
Peace.
Peace.